to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. What you need to know. Have a drink, have your say. All opinions here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Enjoy your stay. Webby, GA, and Matt are here today. Welcome to the Speedway Tavern. Come and have your say.
In the week that Birmingham wins its first trophy in the National League, give us a cheer, guys. And we see off our neighbours Coventry, give us another cheer, guys. I received Twitter of some disgruntlement from certain quarters about GD's treatment of 3-point riders. Really? Have we got to find something to moan about? Really? Well, okay, let's have the debate tonight, but really? In other news, Glasgow have openly admitted that they are looking to sign another rider. That rider? Darcy Ward. Really? And rounds out Pedersen versus Hancock. We'll talk about that as well. Only in Speedway. Well, good evening. We have in the studio tonight our friend Webby.
Good evening.
I can say friend, I use the term loosely, of
Thank
course. Matt Buck.
Good evening.
And Joseph.
Hi.
So, yeah, good evening to you all. Beautiful night, isn't it?
So
Great
far.
time to be a Brummie fan. Not that you would know, Matt, but... Hey-ho. Okay, before we go any further, I think it would be a nice thing to pay tribute to a rider that's a bit poorly at the moment, Ben Barker, who's been a Birmingham rider for the past 3-4 years, whatever it was. Always tried 100%, and I don't think it was any surprise to any of us to see how hard he was trying in the British final. It didn't quite come off with very, very nasty accident. Speedy recovery, Ben. We understand that there's possible serious injuries here, so we've all got our fingers crossed and hope to see him back on a speedway bike ASAP. So, yeah, sorry to bring things down a little bit, but I just thought that needed to be said. Shall we talk about... Well, let's talk about Wolverhampton. We usually start with Wolverhampton, don't we?
Well, there's been no matches since we were last together.
Oh, well, that was quick.
So it's quite positive this week. So.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Well, plenty to talk about on the Brummies front. Of course, while me and Joseph was watching a really, really important match, he was watching another Fours event. Not as important, of course, the World Cup. But would you have picked Sweden at the start?
No, I wouldn't have picked Sweden at the start. I thought they benefited obviously from Poland's problems in the first event the week before, and but they were always in it all the way through. It was very, very close between all four nations, really. I think probably just as much as Sweden won it, I think Denmark threw it away. They had a 4-point lead going into the last couple of races, and obviously Kenneth Pierre, not getting off the start line in the penultimate heat, and then Nurse Kushneverson being excluded. Nicky Pedersen was poor, to be honest. It was probably mad he threw him that Denmark didn't win it because of his poor performance. But You've got to
This
say
is prior to his altercation
Yes,
with,
it was prior.
so you can't use that as an excuse.
no, we can't now. But to be fair, it was an absolutely corking racing. Some really good racing. Voynes has got a reputation for being a bit of a trapper's track, to be honest. But
I thought it rode quite well because I saw the race-off, and I
Yeah.
thought it rode quite well in the race-off, surprisingly.
I thought it did as well. But
yeah.
they probably shouldn't have started with that one heat on the Saturday because it was very, very wet.
Mm.
And there was a lot more rain forecast as well, and it was raining.
Well, I tell you the truth, I didn't even bother watch that one heat because I thought there's no way this is going to. You could tell it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah, but I think getting a bit of water on the track for the Sunday, I think it helped it, and we saw some really good racing. You got to say well done to Sweden, the first World Cup since 2004, I think. So it's been long been overdue for them. So.
Well, and also it gives us hope, don't you think?
I think
Because they've come from the doldrums a little bit and not been there, or that perhaps their doldrums have been at a slightly higher level than our doldrums, but even so, it gives you a bit of.
Well, certainly since Tony Rickardsson stopped racing, the Swedes have really they've been sort of on the fringes, but not able to quite get it together.
I mean, I thought from an England point of view, there were quite a lot of positives to take from our two matches. I don't know what you
I think
thought.
certainly the big positive's got to be Robert Lambert's form.
Yeah,
Which I think makes his omission from the British final even more of a mockery, to be honest. But,
but I don't know. That's all to do with his licence, isn't it? It's apparently because he rides under a German licence. So who's at fault on that one? I wouldn't like.
Well, the thing with that really is they obviously have the top 7 riders from each semi-final go through, and then 2 wildcards. But they always pick the riders who finish 8th. So why not just have the top 8 go through and not bother with the wildcards?
There has been a couple of occasions when there's been an injury to somebody and they couldn't get in the semi-final. I think
That's what happened to Lambert. He crashed out in his first race in his semi-final and didn't take part in the rest of the meeting.
Right. So, well...
But
sometimes we shoot ourselves in the foot in this sport.
Yeah, but I think a lot of positives. Chris Harris was rode well at King's Lynn, but I thought he was poor in the race off, to be honest. Danny King, I think, again, maybe his lack of international experience showed in the race off as well.
Yeah, he does tend to fall at least once in a meeting, doesn't he?
Yeah.
But they're the best we've got at the moment, but it's you have to wonder whether somebody like Jason Garrity could have been blooded given his performance in the British final.
I think the thing with Garrity is he falls off a bit too much for me. He still has that little reckless edge where if he doesn't make the side,
seems to have calmed it down quite a lot.
He has calmed down a little bit, but he still has a tendency to panic, to be honest. And I think he's maybe another year, possibly he might be closer to the reckoning for the World Cup squad.
Well, okay, so all positive. I think it's nice to see somebody other than the ones that you would have been expecting to win. It gives us all hope, and okay, maybe as you say, Denmark lost it rather than they win it, but you've got to be close enough to take advantage of these things,
that's right.
And they were there. So, congratulations. It's our turn next year.
We've been saying that for the last 26 years. So.
Well, got to be right one day. He said, hopefully, fingers crossed, and all the rest of it. But let's turn our attention to a meeting that you won't have seen, then obviously because you were watching that meeting, which was the National League Fours.
A very long meeting.
Oh gosh, didn't it go 4 hours?
I don't think it could have been as long as the British final was.
Well, I think it was. I think it was probably. I mean, it was a 3 o'clock start, and it was about what was it, about 7:30? Yeah.
Retrieve.
Yeah. For lots of reasons. First thing I want to say about it, I've seen a lot of criticism about the track, saying that it was. How can I put it nicely? Basically, that it wasn't fit for purpose. Was to put it nicely. I totally disagree. By the way, yes, there were a lot of crashes. Like the British final, there were a lot of crashes. Was that Wolverhampton track unrideable? It wasn't. It was perfect. I've spoke to a few people yesterday about that track, and they said it couldn't have been any better. it's an important meeting. You get into that first bend and everybody wants to be in the same spot, and it was the same with the National League thing. You know, it's an important meeting, and particularly with riders at that level, once they start trying that little bit harder, they sometimes run out of talent.
Yeah.
So and I can't think of any of the offs, and there was a lot of offs, that was due to the track. Okay, and the other thing that I actually think we should be congratulating the guys for actually the fact that there was a meeting at all. It didn't stop raining the day before on the Saturday. It just rained and rained and rained the whole day. And I've heard somebody told me actually that they took 7 tons of shale off that track and re-prepared it and everything. Just the fact that it went on, I think, is a miracle. So I think those comments about the track were wrong. That's my own personal opinion. As we all know, I'm right. So, to the meeting itself, it wasn't a classic meeting. It was at Coventry, after all. You know, and it is I don't get that, by the way. Why is Coventry such a gator's paradise? It's a nice shape. There's plenty of room there. It's not, it's not tight, and yet time after time it comes out as it's well known for it as being a gator's track, and I don't understand why that is. So if anybody can tell me,
maybe possibly sometimes that the quality of riders that ride the track aren't conducive to passing. That's possibly the reason.
There is that as well.
I've seen some. Don't get me wrong. I've seen some great meetings at Brandon over the years when they've got the track right and there's been 2 good teams. I've seen some thrillers there, but not in recent years, to be honest. But
especially one says it might be Cobb's track so regularly poor that it has a reputation. It does have a reputation, but this reputation is as a gator's track, isn't it? Really, not so much as being a poor track. Though I got to say, it's starting to look a bit run down now, because obviously people. Yeah, it's not being kept up, is it? Because it's got another year, is it?
Another year before it's due to close.
And that's quite sad to say. It's quite sad to think that might be my last visit to Coventry.
You won't be when Birmingham's got storm.
Depends on the day, really, doesn't it? But yeah, I mean that's a possibility. And we won our semi-final pretty easy, and then their semi-final had to decide who came first and who came second, and it went to count back because they'd finished on the same number of points, and it went to count back. More of which in a minute, because that nearly made me miss the fact that we won a trophy. I thought we were absolutely outstanding, but I don't know whether we'd thought we'd already won the meeting or what, and we were all going, why has he put Sam Chapman in for the last heat? Why has he put Sam Chapman in a position that he's going to be in the last heat? What if we need some points in at least last heat to win a trophy? And so it came to pass that we came to the last heat and we needed 2 points. And luckily enough, the Kent rider had an off and was injured and couldn't take his place. Should be substitutes allowed, shouldn't they, for something like that? But anyway, so Kent were in with a shout, and then they weren't because they weren't in there. So that helped our cause somewhat. Actually, a big up for Kent, because I thought, particularly in the final, they rode out of their skins. I'd rather them won it than Coventry. I think possibly they might have even deserved it more than we did. They really rode well. So we came to that last heat, and my life did Sam Chapman. He got his second place, which was, so we finished 15 points and Coventry finished 15 points, and then we looked at the count back and they've won it. Coventry have won it on count back. They got more race wins than we got. So we started packing up, didn't we, Joe?
Yeah.
I'm going to stop and watch Coventry. That's churlish of me, I know, but
I think we even
but the fact
walking.
that yeah, we did. I mean, the meeting had been on for 4 hours, so we needed to get home, really. And then Tom York, bless him,
Peter York,
and him as well, his brother Peter York. Who's Tom York, by the way? ushered the immortal words, "There's going to be one more race," and we went, "Hold on, we're going to win this." Went from despair to we're going to win it, and then we got the outside gates, and I was even more overjoyed because the outside gate had been winning it all night. And then they gated, and Greenwood gated in front, and he rode a very crafty corner. He knew where, because you can choose the whole track when there's two of you.
That's right.
And he knew where Adam was going to be. But Adam Ellis sort of went, "Yeah, you know where I'm going to be, but I'm still going to be here. I don't care." And he went round the outside of him and down the back straight, and that was it. And it was a privilege to see. The best, from personal note, the best bit for me was the fact that I was there with Joseph, my son, and it's the first time Joseph has seen Birmingham win anything. And it's the first time he's experienced that elation that you get. That's just better than anything else that you can experience. It was good, wasn't it?
Yeah, and I think it boosted that even more. The fact that we knew that we'd lost and then we won.
Yeah, I think so. And then all the fans' reactions at the end and the Brummie war cries, and I was expecting a groan from Webby over there. It was good, and things like sort of Sam Chapman was a bit down in the dumps because he hadn't scored many points. It was his first meeting back. His hand was swollen back up. He'd had a crash and everything, and all the riders were there except for Sam with the trophies in front to have a photo. So we're all shouting, "We want Sam! We want Sam!" We all grabbed Sam and put our arm around him and says, "We wouldn't have won without you." I just thought that was a really nice moment as well. So really good. Enjoyed it. Got back and couldn't sleep because I was so high, so full of adrenaline.
After four odd hours, you would be able to sleep.
Yeah. And we go to last night's match now, and I've got to be honest, I was expecting it to be a tough match. And in some ways, I suppose you could say with the numbers of 3-3s that we were getting, you could probably think that it was, but I just could see.
I thought Coventry were poor, to be honest.
I could see all the way through that they didn't cope with the track very well, particularly at the beginning, because it was quite heavy.
Greenwood just certainly struggled, didn't he?
Didn't he? Yeah, it surprised me. I mean, the track came to him, and he got better and better as the night went on. But I could see that. Yeah, okay, we managed to get a couple of 4-2s, but it was 3-3, 3-3, 3-3. But you could just see that we were getting all the heat winners.
Yeah.
So you knew that when you come to those 13 and 15, heat 13, heat 15, those were going to be 5-1s. They nearly weren't, but they were, and you knew that we was going to pull away. And it's quite nice to have that in your locker, whereas on years previous we've had that in the locker against us.
That's right.
So it's quite nice to have a number one that you think, well, okay, there's 3 points straight away. It's quite nice to have that situation. So, but what a heat 15!
Heat 15 was tremendous, wasn't it?
Made the whole match.
Yeah, I think that I can't think of another heat. I think that's probably the best heat of Speedway I've ever seen. Just from the drama of it and how it all happened and how far back Tom Perry was when he... And the thing for me that was most impressive about it is he does that outside line on bend 3 and 4. It nearly kills him. He bounces off the fence. We all know that area that seems to suck the riders in. I'm not quite sure why. He bounces off that fence and he's at the back. Now, we've seen stuff like that happen in the Elite League, and generally the rider just sort of tootles round at the back and thinks, well, I've done my bit, and that's it, Not in this league, not with Tom Perry. He sets about catching the rider in front of him, and lo and behold, he cakes them both. But each time, using that same line, that's just nearly killed him. Yeah. How brave is that? Or stupid, or whatever you want to call it.
The one thing, as he was he managed to get back into second place. The one thing that reminded me of was Jason Lyons. So that's what we've got there, like another Jason Lyons.
It reminded me. I know what you mean. I had this conversation with somebody on the track, and it actually reminded me more of the way Ben Barker used to go around the outside. and use that. But yeah, he's got the same colour leathers as
Jason Lyons.
Jason Lyons, which sort of does that. But I think he's in the form of his life, and he's making traps as well.
Yeah,
he's making traps as well. I don't think I've ever seen Tom do that before.
The tractor
runoff area does appear to be a bit of a trap, says the special one. I'll just do that for you, since you seem to have lost your teeth there.
Well, I put mine on,
it wasn't so much in the Elite League, and it was in the Premier League. I mean, we all remember Carl Legault's accident and how that sort of was the same sort of thing. I don't know what it is. I've got no idea what's causing that, but it does seem to be a bit of a trap. I don't know whether maybe they should paint a white line or something on it, so they can, whether they lose where it is because.
I suppose you've got to remember as well the riders are a little bit less experienced than
of course
they
are.
in the Elite League,
So I mean, we don't want to see accidents, so they do need to look at that, in my opinion. Try and work out what's going on with that and do something about it. Whether that's something that can be done this year, I don't know. So that was that, and we managed to get some interviews with. Shall we start off with Zach, who unfortunately lost his bronze helmet? I could see that was going to happen because at Heat 13 and Heat 15, Dan Greenwood had worked the track out by then. But you've got to say 3 riders on a maximum. I've never seen that before.
Paid
maximums.
3 riders to get a maximum for one team and to only win the meeting by 12 points.
Well, it just
also points to the other problem, doesn't it?
Yes, which we will come to, and Grand Drury talks about, and obviously there are people on the shout box want to talk about the 3-point riders, so we will come on to that. But shall we listen to Zach?
With Zach now, and how did you feel when you realised that we'd won the 4s?
Yeah, it was good. I went out and won the race off. I think everyone was happy. So it was all down to that race off, and he's won.
And were you like most of the fans and didn't realise it would come down to a race off?
Yeah, I thought with 1 heat left, I thought, we've lost it, and Coventry's won it, but I didn't realise that Sam had to get a second, and he did. So with Sam getting the second, he got us through to the race off, and Adam won it.
And how does it feel now that you've lost the bronze helmet?
It's obviously a gutter, but it was Dan was beat me on the night, so so I'll have to try and retain it back.
Thanks for your time.
That's the first time I've heard that bit of the interview. That is just well done, Joseph.
I'm very subtle.
Gotta say, what a find.
He's been a tremendous find.
Hasn't it just? Best. It's not a reserve now, and we've had this conversation before. Best reserve, beginning reserve in the league now? Because you said no last time I asked the question. You thought it was Ellis Perks, but have you changed your mind now?
I haven't seen enough of Ellis Perks, to be honest, in recent weeks. So next week will be.
It's going to be interesting, isn't it?
It's
going to be interesting. Yeah, absolutely. And we also got an interview eventually with Tom.
Okay, we're with Tom now, and I think everyone wants to know what happened on lap 1 of Heat 15, and then how on earth did you get back into second place?
I just hit a rut as I was going to turn 3, and I just couldn't stop where the bike was going. Then I just clipped the fence, managed to stay on, and I bent my footrest round as I hit the fence. So I was like riding a bit uncomfortable for the next 4 laps, but I was lucky really that Dan Greenwood did make a mistake on lap 3. Otherwise I don't think I would have caught him. But I just went into dirt and it was working tonight, so that's what I did.
Fantastic. How does it feel to be champion of the 4s? Again, in your case, isn't it?
It was a really good feeling. I didn't know what was going to happen, to be honest. I knew it was going to be a hard meeting. But all the lads, like I said before, every lad chipped in, every lad did their job. It wasn't like it was a one-man show. It was a team effort all around, and it was really good.
Going back to tonight, we would have expected Coventry perhaps to put on a bit of a more sterner performance.
Yeah, well, I think, to be honest, it played in our favour with like the rain and stuff. Like the track suited us a lot more than it did them. Coventry's quite a slick place to go to, and whoever gates wins. And here tonight. It was quite grippy, so it was a racer's track, and that suited us down to the ground really. Some of the lads lower down in the team are struggling a bit, but we're trying to get them set up all the time. Like tonight I went out on Alex's bike after, and we're trying different things. So, you know, it's a really good team atmosphere at the moment, and everyone's helping each other, so we're all enjoying it.
And from a personal point of view, I think you're probably in the form of your life at the moment, aren't you?
I'm really enjoying my racing at the moment. I know it's only second, third league division, you know, but I'm having calls a lot now to do Premier League, and because of my job I'm actually saying no, because I just want to enjoy my racing. That's what I'm doing with Birmingham. So yeah, just carry on as we're going and winning meetings.
You seem to be trapping a lot better than I've seen you previously.
Yeah, definitely. My game's always been a big letdown for myself, and at the moment it's going really well. So yeah, I'm just going to keep it going, keep my form going, and hopefully take us to a league victory, hopefully.
Fantastic. So yeah, I was going to say something about that. They're just quite interesting. I thought it was interesting. Even the riders know what the situation is. Even the riders, of course, they know better than anybody the situation with Coventry.
You mean like they're open about it?
Yeah. It was, you know, it's a Gators track. They need to sort. Well, they don't need to sort it out because it's going next year, unfortunately. But yeah, I a nice little interview there. Well done again, Joe. Cracking. Not as good as the interview we managed to codge together with Graham Drury. Now, before we start the interview, some of what Graham says is pertinent to the debate we're about to have about the 3-point riders. So have a listen to this. Expecting a tough match against Coventry tonight. I think it's safe to say it went better than expected.
Well, let's put it this way. Prior to the start of the meeting, if you'd have said to me that we would have struggled at the bottom end like we did, I would have said, yeah, we got a tough match on our hands. But we got out of jail, so to speak, in that, you know, 3 of your top riders don't drop a point to the opposition all night. And that's, you know, you're always in with a shout, but there's no doubt we've got to start firing on more cylinders. Not on 3, or you never win anything.
What are we going to do to start getting some of those cylinders firing?
Well, do you know anybody that could ride? Why are you available for us to ride? No, I mean, on a serious note, I mean, you know, rest assured, I don't just sit back thinking somebody will drop out the sky. I'm always looking, seeing who's available. But Birmingham aren't the only team that are looking to make replacements. But the problem is, because the points limit is so very, very low, it's very difficult. But, you know, I'll keep plugging away.
But even so, 100% record, you can't ask for better than that, can you?
And not only have we got 100% record, but we still haven't had a league match where we've had 7 riders out.
That's right, yes.
You know, and it's difficult with the RR. In all due respect, the RR, when we had Zach at reserve, didn't really affect us because he could have 3 of the rides and the kids flying. But now, different ball game, so I'm hoping next week that we have Sam Chapman back. We need him back. Yeah. We need him back scoring points. Yeah. And I've now got to look at the number 7 position. There's no doubt Robert Parker's not ready for it, but we give him the opportunity. I realise that. He realises that. So it's back to the drawing board with that one.
Most of the fans didn't realise that it would come down to a race-off in the 4s, and I've assumed you're pleased that we won, but did you realise that it would be down to that race-off?
Well, I'll tell you what my plan was at the 4s was this. Again, we had 3 riders flying, and we had Sam Chapman obviously not struggling, but not race fit. So we did so well in the semi-finals. What my plan was to have it wrapped up before the last heat when Sam went out. But like most plans, it didn't quite go according to plan. But I mean, you know, I would have accepted. You know, if you win, it doesn't matter if you win by a run-off or a walk-over. A win's a win, and in the years to come, nobody will think about a run-off. They'll just, the records books will show we'd won. End of.
One last question. Zach Wojciech, it's a bit of a find, isn't he?
He's not bad, is he? And again, I keep saying it, I take no credit for it. When I saw the name in the team list, I thought, who the hell's he? And then I did a little bit of research on him. And with Zach, it's not so much the ability that obviously he's got, but what I like about him, he's level-headed, he's not big-headed, he's got a super family behind him, and mum and dad You know, I've got a job to play in so much as, you know, I'm shielding it from the press. I don't want them, you know, the next big world thing, because that puts pressure on the kids. So there is a structured plan in place for the kid. We've arranged for somebody to come in the pitch and look after him a little bit more, with more experience of the ride. The mechanic that we've got in place has been to World Finals, has been to World Team Cup. And, you know, Zach and his dad come today and said, you know, that is tremendous that he's got in the pitch. So we're all working together, and like I said from the outset, that hopefully in years to come, when Zach is doing bigger and better things, he'll look back and say, buddy, I learned a lot at Birmingham.
And
you said that was the last one.
And he's going to be a Brummy asset, of course, isn't he? So
absolutely. But rest assured, he's going nowhere soon.
Glad to hear it. Thank you.
Okay, no worries.
Now, I thought that was quite an honest assessment of the match and revealing interview.
You could have given him something to suck on.
Yeah, I know. he always does that in interviews. I don't know whether you've noticed that with Graham. I think it might be. I don't know. So, okay, I'm gonna throw this one out now to the shout box, because people have obviously got things that they want to say. But I'm gonna ask Matt, as a Wolverhampton supporter. The accusation has been thrown via Twitter today that Graham Drury is not treating our 3-point riders right. What do you think?
In what way?
Well, I presume what they're talking about is that he's made no secret, really, of the fact that he's looking for replacements, and he's sort of said it there. I guess the fact that we've dropped Harvey Banks, who's a 3-point rider, and put Parker in place, Robert Parker, who's also a 3-point rider. I don't see that he's done anything wrong, do you?
It's a results business.
Well, it is a results business, but also
what?
Okay, let's look at the Harvey Banks thing. Are you really going to let him race round the track, losing more and more confidence? Is that actually in the end going to produce a rider?
Well, at the end of the day, Graham Drury is employed by Birmingham Speedway, and he has to do what he thinks is right for Birmingham Speedway.
Mm-hmm. I agree, but
if that means making a change,
but also in this particular case, isn't that change actually beneficial to Harvey Banks rather than having him? You know, because you could. I mean, last meeting he was shaking his head, and you could just see all confidence had gone. Is there any point from his point of view in being in the team?
No, absolutely.
It's not doing him no good at all, is it?
Needs to go back to the development league and just get some laps in and try and get that bit of confidence back.
The special one says Banks was getting worse confidence-wise with every ride. Was right to take him out the firing line. So okay, we have done that, and we put Robert Parker in. From Graham's interview yesterday, he's of the opinion that he's not there yet.
He's not.
And he's not, is he?
He's not.
I mean, and he's quite young as well, isn't he, Robert Parker? I think
he's a little bit more on the pace than Harvey Banks is.
I would agree with that. Yeah, I would agree with that.
Again, it's lack of track craft, lack of racing, and that sort of
he's going to get hurt.
Yeah.
You know, and the last thing that he's going to get hurt. He's not quite there. He's not far off, but he's not quite there. So I don't think. And as you say, at the end of the day. Okay, we've had this argument online before that is this a training league or is it... I say it's not a training league. It was birthed as a training league, but that's not what it is now. And that became different the minute that you said that National League clubs can sign their own assets.
Yeah.
You know, I think so. It's a professional league, and you've got to do what's right by your team.
I think maybe the issue with the National League is that some clubs still use it as a training league,
like Coventry, for
instance.
Some don't. Yeah.
Which creates sort of a bit of a lopsided in terms of some teams are much weaker than others.
I
mean, you looked at last season the Scunthorpe team in the National League. I mean, that was purely a development team.
Well, when you think Sam Chapman, I think, was their number one at one point, it sort of shows you how poor that team was. But particularly from Birmingham's point of view, we need a good team because we're trying to attract new people. It's what's going to keep this team. Don't forget, people, we were dead and buried a year ago, and I know there's all the things about what the Phillips said and what they didn't do, and you know, and all of that. But the bottom line was the bottom line is that if enough people had been coming through the door, none of that would have happened. Whether they was running the club right or whether they was running it wrong, which we're understanding more and more now that they wasn't running it right. The more people come through the door, the better your team can be. It's as simple as that. And if not enough people come through the door, you ain't got a team.
That's right.
As we found out last year. And so they've got to have a successful team this year. They've got to. Now, we just won a trophy. It's a great start, but we need to be there or thereabouts in the league. And let's be honest about it, at some point, this tail of ours is going to bite us. Because at some point, Adam Ellis is going to have an engine failure, or Tom Perry's going to fall off, or Zach Wojciech, who's so inexperienced, is going to get it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then all of a sudden, at those points, you need your second strings and your reserves to pull their socks up, and that ain't going to happen at the moment, is it?
That's right. I mean, you look at next week's racing. I mean, a three-man team is not going to beat Cradley.
I don't think it will beat Cradley. No, I don't. I fear for us next week. I think it's going to be.
And there's a loss.
Well, it's almost in a way. It's really weird to say this. In a way, if we lose next week, it ain't a problem because it's our away match. Do you understand what I'm saying? Yes. Yeah, because so other teams will come. So we won't be losing ground against other teams by losing at Cradley, but we need to get it sorted out for the return leg, and win that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So yeah, I do. That's my life or whatever. So I won't be too despondent. However, from a point of view of bums on seats, we need to at least put up a good performance.
Yeah, you've got to be honest, it wasn't a particularly good crowd last night.
No, well, I wasn't going to mention that, but
I remember saying he wasn't going to mention it. It's been mentioned now, so it's out in the public.
Special One says, I think GD might be using the pool team building method. Solid heat leaders and change the 3-pointers at the bottom till you find one that can contribute a few points. I totally don't agree with that. And in fact, I can refute it in one sentence. GD didn't build the team. Mm-hmm. I don't think if GD had been building the team that he would have built it like quite so top heavy. He's never done that in the past. Doesn't seem to be his way. But then again, a lot of teams have gone this direction because of the low points limit. It's sort of, you know, but I think we need one more rider. Sam Chapman might be that rider, of course, because we've got 3 heat leaders. We built the team on 2 heat leaders, and we've been very lucky or knowledgeable or whatever, you know, in what's happening with Zach. We've got 3 heat leaders, haven't we? Yeah. So one more rider that's picking up the seconds and the thirds. So it's not that far off, is it, really? It's not that far off.
It's getting the balance right and finding that rider, finding that elusive missing piece in the jigsaw.
Yeah. So, okay, come on, give me your criticisms on this with the 3-point riders. I don't agree. Tell me why I'm wrong. While you're getting your lines for that, I think we'll play some music.
Okay, let's have a bit of cake.
You're running all out of time. 'Cause in the wild, wild west, you don't have to fight out. And in the wild, wild west, you don't have to fight out. Thinking about the future, looters and serving the time. Head up and down to the saloon bar. Make mine a large run to go. Dark underneath all the pistols. You saved your life trying to die. Right up and down on the state lines. Your mind is trying.
Okay, so we've got a question. What's your thoughts on Adam Kirby? I don't get that word. Imant Wilson has been forced out of his depth.
No, I don't get that.
Has okay, I think I've got it. Has Wilson been forced out? Has Alex Wilson been forced out of his depth?
Just before you go on, just let people know that the clip with GD is now on our Facebook page. So that I've just clipped that bit, but the full podcast will be tomorrow.
Okay, there you go. Okay, so what are my thoughts on Adam Kirby? Okay, how much of this do I want to share? Look, Adam Kirby is not an inexperienced rider, is he? He's been around for 3-4 seasons, something like that. He seemed to be having trouble coping with the track last night, with the dirt on the track. A rider of his experience, I'm not going to say what you said, Joseph. A rider of his experience shouldn't be falling off every single match. There hasn't been a match that he hasn't come off. Sometimes when there's been no pressure on him, he's fallen off. There's no doubt that he's trying really hard. There's no doubt that he's really giving it a go, and I feel desperately sorry for the lad. And I would hate to be... I'd be terrible in Graham Drury's position. Yeah. I would find those sorts of decisions difficult to make. To ring a rider up and say, look, I'm sorry, but we need to replace you. That's got to be hard to do.
I think I do remember a match where he didn't come off. I think it was, I can't remember which one it was now, but I can remember that most of the riders really didn't like the track, and I think most of the riders I interviewed, they said that they didn't like the track, but then Kirby said that he really liked it.
Yeah, I remember that. It was quite a slick track, wasn't it? And what I don't understand is that unless things are changed at Stoke, they don't particularly produce a slick track in Stoke from my memories. And he's ridden there for quite a long time. So I don't know.
You don't remember, I mean, we'll go back to the old football thing, but it is a team game. And if the same thing happened in football, would be whatever, they're replaced.
They would replace, because there would be there's a squad system, and there's some
or they're offloaded.
Yeah, but they would still be being paid, and the difference with Speedway is that you don't ride, you don't get paid. And that's the thing.
They know that when they know that when they go into the sport. Though, sure.
Would you like to put your teeth back?
Oh no, I've only had 2 points. But
it's a hard old game, isn't it? At this level as well.
It's a funny old game.
But my opinion of Adam Kirby is he'd probably do better at a different track. Somewhere where that's not quite so slick, and maybe he'll do really well when we're at Eastbourne at the weekend, and we'll all be and we win the match because of him. It's not going to happen, by the way. But and then we'll all. But you got to look at the bigger picture. So that's my thoughts on Adam Kirby. Is that I would be expecting a rider of his experience when he stops on, he scores points.
Mhm.
That's the annoying thing, is it? When he
Yeah.
stops on, he scores points. It might not be. I've said this before. It might not be big points, but we need a rider that's picking up those ones, because if the team is set up where you've got really good heat leaders that are going to win races, those ones and those twos give you heat advantages. You know?
And what you're saying now was just proven in the fours. Sam might not have got big points, but if he
Those
didn't,
2 points.
if he didn't get those few points that he did get, we would have lost. So
That's the first thing. Has Alex Wilson been forced out of his depth? I think it's a bit unfortunate that because his form has been a little bit better. I mean, he had one really good meeting, didn't he? It's meant that because the other riders' form has been not so good, that he's now in the main body of the team. I didn't think he did too bad
No, I don't think he was too bad last night.
last night. So he was always, he's there or thereabouts. I think number 2 is always a difficult position.
Yeah.
And maybe when Sam comes back properly, they might consider putting him at number 2. I don't know.
Just initially, yeah.
So, yeah, I think the jury's still out on that one for me. We'll find out. He certainly, I like Alex Wilson, and he's a rider that I would stick with. Whereas with, because you can see improvements, you can see stuff happening with him, can't you? So, and I think Graham Drury probably will stick with him. And Bend for Brummy says GD should be out on the track after meetings, helping these guys like Tom with Alex yesterday. Help them. Okay.
In what way?
Well, yeah. I mean, he's
what
not.
way should he be?
You don't know whether he's turning round. I mean, I know Tom was out on I'm not sure whose bike it was yesterday, trying different things. It might have been Alex's, I'm not sure. But we don't know whether the Graham Drury's turned round and asked Tom to do that.
Yeah.
We don't know. And you listen to Graham's interview about Wojtek and the help he's put in place. They're keeping him away from the media, sorting out a decent mechanic for him, etc., etc. We don't know what. Graham Drury goes about his work quite quietly. He doesn't shout about it very often. No. So he's not that sort of. He's not a pump them up sort of guy. He's not a Phil Morris type of But he's got experience, and we don't know that he's not doing that. Unless you do know that he's not doing that, I don't think you can criticise somebody for not doing something that you don't know they're not doing. Did that sentence make sense?
No, it didn't.
Yes. It sort of got away from me a little bit.
I've got a spoon over here for you.
Okay. So that's the only answer I can give to that. I don't think his place is out on the track.
No, it isn't.
In the pits and talking to them and putting their arm around him, that's what's needed. Giving a kick up the backside, if that's what's needed, and judging and knowing when the one's needed and when the other one's not. That's the skill. Your captain's the guy that should be doing which Tom was, to be fair to him. So. Yeah, keep them coming, guys. Keep them coming. While you're thinking of more questions, and look, you don't have to agree with me. I'm not always right.
No, you're not.
Did I actually say that? I had my fingers crossed.
thank you for your generous donation to the Joseph is Always Right Foundation.
Shall we talk?
Just to sum up that, because I'm just going back to Twitter. Things have come in on Twitter, and we've reiterated the fact that we don't think that. Graham Drury is slating off struggling riders.
No, I don't think so. No. Well, I mean, we're into halfway through June. He's only just made the decision to replace Harvey Banks and do something about that. It's given him plenty of time. But at the end of the day, unless you're stupid, you've got to realise that the way the team is set up, at some point, it's going to get a tonking.
That's right.
It just will.
If something's got to be done, it's got to be done.
So you can't carry on like that, can you?
Yeah.
I don't think, particularly in our particular situation.
There's another tweet regarding the fighting fund, but I think that's discussed on the forum. I think.
Yeah, somebody asked.
Yeah.
Well, read it out.
Also worth discussion is clarification on where the fighting fund is. But
well, I don't know. I remember that there was something put on the forum about it at the time, and everybody was happy.
Yeah, it's in the sport. As far as I know, it's just the Sports Club are holding the fighting fund.
I'm not sure whether some of it. I did actually go over to Tony Mole and for,
I have no idea.
Yeah, but it was talked about and everything was above board.
All right,
but the
okay.
person to talk to is Tracy
probably,
on the forum.
yeah.
So, but if you go to the top of the forum where the fighting fund bit is, you can put, if you really want to know, put a post on there and ask the question. I'm sure somebody will answer that.
Talking of fighting, is there not something we should be...
Oh yeah, seconds out. Well, what did you say earlier?
Sounds out. Yes, I can't remember what I said. I don't know. It's non-alcoholic beer. That's what does it every time. So, okay. Well, you know more about this. Would you like to... you got statements and so on. There was a big fight in a league match in Poland.
Sweden.
Okay.
Yeah. Between Greg Hancock and Nicky Pedersen, obviously with Nicky obviously being adjudged by the referee and obviously by Greg Hancock as well.
Can I just stop you for a second? And what we will do is we'll put the link on the shout box for you all to have a look at it.
Yeah, which of course led to rather unsavoury scenes afterwards there when
it was like old times.
When Greg Hancock decided to run 50 yards down the track and grab Nicky in a flying headlock for some reason. But well, Greg Hancock has released a statement yesterday. It's quite a long statement, so I'll pick the best bits out. He said, first of all, I would like to apologise to the fans, management and sponsors from last night's meeting for the way I reacted to being knocked off my bike by Nicky Pedersen in Heat 15. It was not right for me to react in the way that I did. However, it is not the first time that something like this has happened to me, and I felt that my safety was put in danger.
Yes.
Yeah, hang on. Modern technology and all that. I want to stay off the floor like anybody else, and the last thing I want is to come off my bike at high speed. I enjoy a good, hard, fair race, the same as anybody else, but too often the line is crossed. After the rerun of Heat 15, I was packing my goggles and my equipment away when Nicky approached me in the pits and asked me if I had a second. Naturally, I didn't particularly want to speak to him, but before I could say anything, he told me that he didn't do anything wrong and that it was a fair move. This was clearly to provoke me, and I lost my cool and headed over to confront him again before I was stopped by, amongst others, my teammate Chris Holder. I was angry and I was shouting at Nicky. I can't remember what was being said, but as you can imagine, it was not complimentary. As I was being held back, I noticed that Nicky had a phone in his hand and was recording the whole thing. He had purposely approached me and said something to provoke me and recorded the reaction. He completely set me up for whatever reason and was stood there while he was doing it, grinning at me. After the incident, he walked past a crowd of people, many of them children, and put his middle finger up. How do I know this? I was told by my own children who were in the crowd at the time. He doesn't see other riders in the race, he just sees what he wants to see, and that puts us in danger. If he feels like he can get in front without hurting himself, regardless of whether he's going to hurt anybody else, he will do it. This is the guy we have to share a track with. Maybe he feels that by making us angry... Hang on. This is brilliant. Maybe he feels that by making us angry it gives him an advantage when he gets to the tapes. But for all the bravado, the look in his eye when I approached him both times was of pure fear. You could see in his eyes the fear, and he backed up very quickly. But then as soon as he's surrounded by people, he grins and pretends that it doesn't bother him. I've done my research and I've spoken to several people extremely close to him in his camp, and I've since found this is something that he has always done. Even as a youngster I was told by various people that this was a trait of his. I genuinely believe that Nicky has a different mentality to anybody else in the sport. I have had so many messages of support from my fellow riders and fans, many of whom those riders have shared incidents with Nicky too. I know my reaction was wrong, and for that I apologise, but for too long we have stood back and allowed this man to put riders in danger, and I feel now that enough is enough.
Well,
it's a shortened version because it was quite a long statement.
Well, first of all, let's clear one thing up. I've watched the video from two different angles now. If you watch it from one angle, you go, naughty boy, Nicky Pedersen.
Mm-hmm.
If you watch it from the other, you go, whoops, It wasn't malicious.
It was hard, but
it was hard, and it wasn't malicious. And
I think more than anything, Nicky was maybe going a bit too fast and had too much speed going into the corner.
And should have been excluded because he caused the stoppage. And he was excluded.
Yeah.
But I think the thing about that comes that's most pertinent for me is that it's a build-up of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you don't see Greg Hancock lose his call. Or I've never seen that. It's a build-up of stuff. And I mean, Ty Woffington's mentioned this previously as well in relation to Nicky Pedersen, and it's his constant using psychology. The fact that he's gone back to him in the pits to provoke. There's only one reason he's done that, isn't there? And that is to provoke a reaction.
Yeah.
And then to be recording it, that sort of shows as well. And then to stick your middle finger up as well to kids, or in the direction of kids, I ensure that that's something that we want to be seeing.
As the special one says, if the accusations of the middle finger to the kids has any truth, then that's worth a man on its own. I think he's right.
Yeah, I think he's right as well. So
I have to say though, I mean, when you watch it the first time, it was actually quite amusing to watch Hancock's reaction. But in the cold light of day, if you did that on the street, you'd be arrested.
Well, you would, yeah.
So, and he has been fined by the Swedish authorities. Whether there'll be any other action, although of course it's interesting because of course Cardiff's a few weeks away, and that's the next time they meet.
Yeah. So, well, that'll put a few tickets. I might go now. I have been seriously thinking of going to it. Well, I don't think there's a lot we can add to it. It's.
I think more and more will come out about that over the next few weeks, to be honest.
I think that, well, of course they will, because they're going to build it up because of the Cardiff thing. I mean, it's good publicity, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's good publicity. Does that make sense?
All publicity is good publicity.
Yeah.
A wise man once said that.
I'm sorry.
It was me.
I am laughing that Brummy Time Lord says that means a lot of Stoke fans should be banned too. And I will pay testament to that because I've been on the receiving end of stuff like that at Stoke. Can I hear music going on in the background? Wow, it's that. Yeah, again. Yeah. Well, I really enjoyed that debate about the 3-pointers, and maybe we'll continue. We'll see if there's any news on that front. I sincerely hope there is, because I don't think we're doing these riders any good at the moment. Thanks, guys. See you next week. Take care.
See you in a week.
Good night.
Good night.